I may have fed them, but birds are man, they're a weird animal. I I think we're yeah, we got a couple people watching now, but uh what's up, daylight burners? We got a pretty cool full session planned today. Waiting on this to load, but I got TJ Briggs, who is not in the screen. He is what
My
he's
cell
doing
phone
whatever
service
he's
sucks.
doing. Yeah, he's up in Idaho, and if he moves in the wrong way, like his phone will die and his life may end. I don't know for sure. Like they do it different up in Idaho.
I just
On
want
the
everybody to know that I'm fully nude for this too.
yes, this
So
is a
send pics.
graphic episode. This
Strong start.
episode of the Burning Daylight Bull session. On the right hand side, we got Jeff Law up in Oregon, Fox, Oregon, and then on the bottom we got Zach Sargent out of Texas. Where'd you say you were in Texas again?
Dickens, Texas. Dickens.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy Thursday, everybody. We've got less than a week until the madness really starts. Um, in the meantime, we're just gonna have some fun. Um, the world may burn down around us, but I think most of us live far enough out in the sticks that it ain't gonna let the world burn. I guess we'll just keep punching cows.
There you go. I think most ranch cowboys, for the most part, kind of fantasize about maybe the modern world having, I don't know about an apocalyptic moment, but maybe a bit of a hiccup. I think a lot of us kind of fantasize about that. I do anyway, but kind of an anarchist at heart, so maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way there, man. I think it needs to happen, and I want it to happen. Um, and then I think about all the all the people from LA and New York City that are gonna move to our part of the world, and yeah, I'm not sure how bad I want it to happen anymore. I think it needs to happen, but as long as they move somewhere else where I'm not, I'm good with it.
Sure. I think
Good
it's just
luck.
kind of cyclical. Well, yeah, exactly. But I had a guy, a buddy of mine, C.J. Jenkins. He's there in outside of Fort Collins at a feedlot now, but he told me what I thought kind of made sense in my little head anyway. He said, if you ever watch a prairie dog town, whenever that prairie dog town gets too big, there's too many prairie dogs. Well, it's not long before catastrophe hits, whether that's sickness or whatever it may be. And I don't think people are any different. I think you can only stack people on top of each other for so long before it all comes down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, and it's a good thing that it happens. I mean, nobody wants to see anybody else die, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's probably a good thing that it all happened. But once again, it's the solution is they move out of those cities and move out to where we are, and then
Sure.
then it doesn't sound so good. But
Well,
anyhow, I think I don't know. I just you look at the world around us, and it seems to be just like a steaming, flaming ball of shit. Uh, but you go outside in the morning, the sun still rises, sun still sets. It's getting colder, which is supposed to. We're coming on winter. It's cooling down, and cows still got to eat. Cows still get sick. Cows still got to get doctored. So keep along, and you know everything that happens in the news is gonna happen regardless, and it doesn't matter what the fuck happens in the news. Those cows still got to be taken care of. So here we are.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
hell,
getting ready to be go season too. All
Yep.
of my cows are turned out. Will be. I don't know if we're gonna come off the hill and wean this weekend.
One of the first things I do whenever I go somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's talking here.
Well, no, everything just caught up all at once.
Oh,
I don't know if we're gonna come off the hill. So I've got a little bunch of cows and day worked, and I had my first kid when I was 18 years old, so I kind of had to go get a real white man job and fucking do everything else and just kind of cowboy on the side and day work when I needed to or wanted to. And I got my own little bunch of cows, but I don't know if we're gonna come off the hill this weekend or next weekend or what we're gonna do to start weaning. But like, I know we're late doing it compared to a lot of people, but it's fucking go time, boys.
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's
Hell, we're
that fall run.
man, we're I don't know, we're a month and a half or so early. We weaned about a month and a half or so early this year just because we haven't had any damn rain. Shoot, the last we had about probably 3 inches in June, and that was it. That's all we got. We had several days here where it was 105, 110, wind blew 30, 40 miles an hour. And I mean, that dries stuff out fast. I mean, most of this part of the country, we're out of grass. I mean, we're smooth out of grass. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
long winter.
30-mile-an-hour wind, just how you like it, ain't it? I mean, just
Oh yeah,
like,
and I mean,
I mean,
we're used to the high winds, but I mean, not in August when it's 108.
yeah. Yeah. Just tip your head down and walk right into the furnace.
That's
That's all
it.
you
I mean,
can
like I
do.
said, it's rough.
Is that country where you're at, Zach? Is it rockier than fuck?
It is really rocky. I'm down here kind of what they call the Croton Break country. But it's not like hard Malpie rock or something you might get like in Arizona. A lot of this is, gyp rock. There's a lot of it, but it seems like it's not quite as hard on a horse's feet as a lot of that old hard Malpie and stuff. It's, part of the Texas Panhandle looks like it's flat as a pancake. I mean, it looks like Cheyenne on a bad day, and then parts of it, whenever you get down here in the kind of Palo Duro Caprock country, it gets rougher than hell. I mean, mine is pretty much what's not cedar ain't standing on it. There's a rock, and it's uphill or downhill, But like I said, it just kind of depends where you're at here in the Panhandle as to what you kind of run up on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you guys like up here? All or a lot of our rock country's all black lava rock, and like it'll be. I mean, it's dry heat, and you guys are a little more humid, but not much. But like, I mean, it'll be 100+ degrees in the middle of summer, and 10, 11, midnight, you can go outside, and anywhere where there was shade, it'll be cooled off. But anywhere where the sun was shining on that rock, it'll be like 15, 20 degrees warmer. Is it that same way down where you're at?
As far as that heat retention, I think that gyprock actually does a better job of turning loose of that heat. I'd say the worst part about this country is, well, like for example, yes, the past 3 days we've had a horrible snow and ice storm. It didn't get brutal cold, probably the 20s, but I mean, we've got power line poles down all over the place. Had a horrible ice storm come through, and today it was 60 degrees. I mean, we get these really kind of wild, rampant weather swings that really screw with stuff, and we've got a couple pens full of weaned calves, and I mean, it's going to be a tough one. That's probably the worst thing about this country, I'd say, is how wild the temperature swings can be, and it makes for a tough living on calves.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got friends that are in Tahoka, Texas.
Yep, right outside of Lubbock. Yes, sir.
Yep. And I don't know how many days they've been without power, but they're still without power today. I don't know how long it's been exactly, but and
Probably
down there, Yeah, down there, they're not set up for that. They ain't got wood stoves. They ain't got nothing, so they're freezing their asses off.
Yeah, it's a weird deal. I'm not sure why the hell they decided at a certain period in time. I don't know when that was, but they thought, "Ah, the hell with it. Surely it won't ever get cold here again. We'll all get rid of our wood stoves." But it's a
Yeah.
dumbass move.
Well, it's that oil, baby. You
That's
gotta
it.
get
Yeah,
oil
that's
there,
it.
baby.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, in which and I try to explain that kind of to people. Like that town I grew up in, just to kind of give you some idea of, because most of the time you tell people, well, yeah, I'm from Texas, and they say, oh, it's hot and muggy, and I'm like, well, no, I was, from where I grew up, Cheyenne, Wyoming was about 9.5 hours away, and Austin, Texas was about 10 hours away. And I grew
Yeah,
up noticeably closer to the New Mexico line for the most part than I did, to Dallas Fort Worth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man, like you said, but a lot of people, well, it's like everywhere else. You hear people talk about Wyoming, and they're like, "Oh man, what beautiful country." I'm like, well, some of it, I was like, and some of
Yeah.
it's ass ugly. You know what I mean? I was like, just depends where you're standing.
I grew up in southeast Colorado, so everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you must be a big skier." I was like, "Fuck, man, I was 6 hours from the mountains." Or, well,
Oh yeah,
3 hours, I guess.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
big
You know where
skier.
Rocky Ford is, don't you, Matt?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And I used to work for a place down around Rocky Ford, Stirrup Ranch. Wasn't a very good place, but anyway. And I'm not a great employee, so they say the same thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
there's a guy that lived there named Steve Sykes, and he said, it's weird. He said, I can look off my front porch and see Pikes Peak, and I can look out my back porch and see Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Yeah, I grew up 8 miles from Oklahoma and about 15 from Kansas. And
Okay, yeah, I know where. So you weren't too far from well, I mean, you weren't too far from the Texas Panhandle then, right there.
no, I was about 60. Um, so I was 22 miles north of Keys.
He,
Keys.
oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, yeah. So I was about 45 minutes from Coronado feeders there,
Yes, sir.
and yeah, but on a real clear day, you could see Pikes Peak. Um,
Yeah,
but you were also 15 miles from Kansas, and
uh,
8 from
beautiful,
Oklahoma.
beautiful country.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Great
Now,
American Desert, as they called it. I don't
oh
know.
yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, man. Now, TJ, do y'all mostly run on forest permit over here at in Idaho?
No, so there are a lot of forest permits, but I'm far enough south where we got a lot of BLM ground, and it's all desert sagebrush country.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have to deal too much with the government then.
Oh no, we're fucking. I forget how much of our state's government owned, but it's fucking too much.
Mm.
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
I shouldn't say too much because there's a lot of we have a unique deal where it seems like we have a lot more state owned ground than a lot of places. That is state ground and it's not BLM or Forest Service. So
oh,
Yeah, Colorado's kind of the same way. There's a lot of state ground.
yeah,
Um, Nevada, fuck, it's 80% federally owned.
yeah,
yeah.
Um,
yeah.
but like here, um, if you go, I don't know, about a mile and a half in just about any direction, I mean, it just empties out into like, you know, 500,000 acres of BLM or more.
Yeah,
But
we're surrounded by it. Like I, I can't remember what the permit is that's right out back of my house, but it's a decent sized permit. LG Davison and Sons has had that for fuck God since forever.
mm,
Um, but it's a good chunk of ground, and they have a bunch of deeded land that butts up to it. And well, next, God, I should have researched some of this shit about home before I got on a fucking podcast.
Hell yeah.
But so the Davison family and their LG Davidson and Sons Livestock, they own the family corporation owns the livestock auction in Caldwell, which is south and east of me a little ways, and then even further south and east of me, they have, I don't know how much deeded land altogether, but as far as people that I know and I'm on a first name basis with, they're probably like some of the biggest landholders in Idaho. I would think anyway. They might not have all the livestock other people do, and I mean they're definitely not Simplot, but they've got a good chunk of ground, deeded ground.
Yeah.
Man, you know, that
Um,
was something coming from. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just go ahead. I'll add on here in a minute.
Oh well, coming from Texas, or the area I grew up in, that was something that was completely new to me the first time I went up north. You know, Texas is like 90-something% private land, so all the ranches I grew up on and worked on, I mean, hell, you owned it. You know, nobody told you when to move your cattle or who could hunt on it or anything. You know, it was yours.
Yep.
And, you know, the first time I went up north and they were telling me, well, we got to be out of here by this time. I was like, what the hell do you mean? You know, I mean, why? You know, why is that a big deal? And they said, well, that's all federal land. It was like a Pandora's box. I had no understanding of it. And best I can tell, nobody does. The federal government sucks ass at everything they do. But
yeah, I was gonna say we don't fucking understand it either. Trust me.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Well, and the federal government can fuck up a wet dream, and
hell yeah.
Yeah, and so and then especially like when you go back through history, like Nevada, which I was never a Nevada historian. I like history a lot. Nevada was never on my radar until I married a gal from Nevada, and they're almost as rabid as Texans. I'm not gonna lie. Like they really love them some Nevada, and
Sure. I love
so
Nevada.
like when you go back through like their history, when they became a state in 1865, uh, they didn't have anywhere near the number of people they needed to actually become a state, but Lincoln and a bunch of those other guys just pushed it on through because there was a lot of gold and silver in Nevada, and if they pushed them through as a Union state, all that gold and silver went to the Union. So they pushed it through as fast as they possibly fucking could.
Yeah.
And but in the meantime, yeah, there's a whole bunch of the Great Basin in Nevada that was not settled, and that just became government property by default, I guess. Whether that's right or wrong, and arguably it's not legal constitutionally, but here we are,
Not
you
legal.
know,
Yeah.
almost 200 years later. It's still how it was, but
Yeah. And
Well,
you know I think that's what shocked me the most about being, you know, well, I guess most of the forest permit I've been in has been in Wyoming, Colorado, and Arizona. So my scope is fairly limited to those three states. But you know, I'm a big believer in forest management. And I think with controlled burns and good grazing and logging, you can pretty much minimize the amount of fire we've been seeing, or at the very least, you eliminate the possibility of these monster fires that we're getting. You know, and I was talking to a forest agent up there in Wyoming about it, forest service, whatever you want to call them, forest ranger, whatever. But I asked him, I said, why don't y'all do some controlled burns and that sort of thing? So get rid of, you know, we've got 100 years of dead fuel just sitting on the ground, and it's a disaster, you know. And he said, well, he said, you know, most people, he said, the average employee would like to. He said they would like to. He said it's the guys in charge for the most part that are holding up progress. And from that moment, I pretty much figured out, well, the federal government has no interest in preserving land or forest. It's all a political agenda. That's all it is.
Well, hey, it's about like anything.
That's one of them. That's one of them things, though. And Matt, I'm sure you're kind of maybe there with me, or that's where you're going. That's one of them deals. That's kind of like a teeter totter, because
Mm,
not only do you have to please us, but you have to please the people that live in town, and you have to. And you're right, it is a political agenda, but the thing about a lot of that ground is it's not your ground, it's not my ground, it's our ground. It's everybody that
uh,
lives in town, everybody
Sure.
that doesn't live in town, and
yeah.
trying to get all of us on the same page is like trying to skin a cat while it's still alive. Like
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
never gonna work.
Well, and the I don't know. I've been doing a lot of research on the Western expansion. Like I'm a big Old West buff in general. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but like the heyday of the Old West was like 1870s, 1880s. That's like when the
Mm,
big cattle boom was. That was when all the big gunfighters and all that shit was there. But
right after the Civil War. Yeah,
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 that's it. Yeah.
but it all really started in the 1830s. And so like you look at like Charles Goodnight and the guy from the King Ranch. They were
Yeah.
running
Captain King.
cattle back. Yeah, Captain King, like back in the 30s, 1830s. And so there was a good 40 years before like the cattle boom really hit, and they were for the most part. You can call them free grazers, but like those cattle that were out there, they'd been a couple hundred years removed from human contact because they're left over from the Spanish conquistadors of like the 1600s, and then they like the Spanish government had these big land grants, but they didn't even know what the fuck was out there. They just said, you got this many acres, and go survey it. And
Mm,
then and so that was all part of Mexico, and then
yeah.
U.S.
The
was
Baca
like
floats. Yeah.
yeah, and then U.S. was like manifest destiny. No, we're going straight to the Pacific, and they kicked the shit out of Mexico, and now now you've got a bunch of uh, kind of deeded land that changes changes countries now, not just changes ownerships, but like changes countries, and there's all this land that like no white man has ever explored really, and
yeah.
in the meantime there's a couple million Indians running around out there doing their thing. It's been like they have been since the beginning of time, and like it's all really complicated, like how this all came to be, and especially like how it all ended up in the federal government's hands. Like it's kind of a shit show when you look at it, like, and when you try to figure out who actually owns it. Well, like, if we're gonna go way back, technically the Indians own it, but we beat them, and so like how much weight does that treaty hold? And that, I mean,
Yeah. Well, and that's a
that's up for
slippery slope
debate.
too, because and I've had that debate with people because, and I'm a big fan of Texas history, especially the Panhandle. You were talking about Colonel Goodnight and all that, but
Yeah.
they called this area of the Texas Panhandle. This was historically known as Comancheria. Oliver Loving was killed in Comancheria, and they were actually
Yep.
trying to skirt Comancheria. But before it was Comancheria, it was Apacheria. That was because the
Mm-hmm.
Plains Apaches laid claim to it. Best they can tell, the Comanches started out up in around the Teton area and
Yeah.
pretty much fought their way south and just kind of laid claim as they pleased. And they kind of settled on a southeastern Colorado, parts of Kansas, Texas Panhandle,
Mm.
up into kind of northeastern New Mexico. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off subject. But the Comanches ran the Apache off of this country, when they took it. So if you start
Yeah.
getting in those debates, well, the Indians own it. It's like, well, shit, how far back do we go then? Because there was
Yeah.
somebody here before the Apaches too. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just those are slippery slope games, and man, it's a tough one to play, isn't it? Like you said,
Yeah, it
it
really
really,
is.
it's not as simple as we make it out to be. It never is.
No, it's really not. Like,
Well,
because
that's a lose-lose argument.
it really is. Like, I mean, when you
Yeah,
look at it,
100%.
when you really look at it, you're just like, well, yeah. I mean, like whoever is settled on there now, whoever owns that house on that piece of ground now, I mean, technically they own it, but like if you go back and if you're like who has a legal claim to it, I mean, we kicked the shit
Nobody.
out. We kicked the shit out of the Comanches
Right.
and the Shoshone and everybody else. But just because we kicked the shit out of them, does that mean we have a legal claim to it? I don't know. I mean, but to the victor goes the spoils, so that's kind of how it goes. And I mean, like you said, you have to draw a line at some point. Like, is this where history started, or is this when history started? Like who as to
Exactly.
who,
Exactly.
and at some point you just got to be like, all right, well, let's start here. Let's start here. And but then I don't know. It's a lot muddier than than we'd ever like to admit.
Well,
Um,
Yeah.
the way that I look at it, and Matt, I'm with you, and Zach, I think you'd agree, and I don't. I think Jeffrey signed out, but um, as quick as it went from kind of medieval standpoint of how you acquire
mm,
ground, um, and where we live at in the United States, the United States government pretty well decided, all right, well, this is the difference in deeded ground and the difference in this. Now you're not allowed to go fight your neighbor for their grazing rights or their, uh, sagebrush ground or whatever. You own it.
Yeah.
This is yours. This is theirs. If you want theirs, you got to buy them out.
yeah, yeah. It's and I've like I said, I've done quite a little bit of research on this here lately. Um, and it's not because like this particular topic was like like what I was getting after, but more just because I love the old west stories. Like there's Custer, there's Billy the Kid. There's always the big names, but there's so many other little stories that like people don't ever know. But and a lot of it's regional. Like where I grew up in southeast Colorado, like we're right on the Santa Fe Trail. There's a lot of cool shit that happened right around there, and that's
Yeah.
the
I grew
part
up on the San
I like.
Francisco myself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I like to learn about that. But then like the more you dig into it, and you're just like, whew, well, yeah, like things are a little more complicated than we'd like to believe, and I don't know. There's and then when you look at it versus the grand scheme of things, like this pretty young country too. Like we haven't been around all that
Yeah.
long.
No, yeah, you're exactly right there. I mean, you look at especially a lot of the UK who have, I mean, leadership has changed hands, but it's been essentially
Mm.
under the same flag since, a lot of those countries, the 1200s, 1300s, and even older than
Yeah,
that. I mean, we didn't come along till the 1770s. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
as far as a world power, that wasn't established till arguably World War II, maybe World
yeah,
War One. Now, as far as like our seat in civilization, it's been a pretty recent seat that we worked
yeah,
into.
yeah. And we kind of stumbled into it with the whole nuclear bomb shit. So, like
Sure,
it's like
and
credit to the scientists that made it, but like it just so
well,
happened that it was ours.
and even then, yeah, and that's people don't like to discuss that. We had a lot of help from German scientists. I mean, as we
Oh
would
yeah,
capture those German scientists, a lot of our German scientists that people are a little leery of, go look into NASA's history. A lot of those guys were
yeah,
employed.
yeah.
Like you said, history's never black and white. We like it to
No,
be, but
it
it's
never
never
is.
quite that clear.
What it was that? It was Operation something. You guys keep talking. I'm looking that one up.
Go ahead. Yeah. Now, TJ,
So
what was the prevalent tribe in your part of the country?
Comanche and Kiowa.
Yeah, well, right. Like I said, right there in southeastern Colorado, and
Yeah.
up there, like in Idaho, where TJ's at, would that have been like Shoshone up there? Or?
yeah, there's a lot of Shoshone and a lot of Paiutes, and then right into where I'm at, and I wish I was more familiar with it, but south of me and west of me is Shoshone and Paiutes. But like kind of right around where I'm at is where the Nez Perce and the Shoshone and the Paiutes all kind of came together and met. But I think most of the Nez Perce country is north of me.
Okay.
But I know. So I got a cool story for you. So here, shit, it's probably been about 7 years ago. I had I was running my cows on this chunk of ground that's probably 60 miles north of me, and the folks that owned it, they called me and they're like, "Hey, you guys had a calf come down and hit the road," and we just turned out like 3 days before that. And I'm like, "All right, well, you guys got him in the corral or in the barn or what's going on?" And they're like, "Well, there's this guy coming up the road. He's got a bunch of pack horses and this, that, and the other thing, and he caught him. He roped him on the road. He was just loose." All right.
Yeah.
So what's he doing? And he's like, "Well, he's got him haltered in camp." And I'm like, "Fuck." All right. So we drove up there, caught some horses, drove up there, met this dude. His name was John. He might not even have had a last name. If he did, I don't recall what it was. But he's like, "Hey, I live horseback and I day work and yada yada." And I'm like, "All right, dude, cool. Like, I just want to get this calf back with her mom." And it was dark by the time that we got up there, and so I'm like, we'll crash out in the overshot of the horse trailer and then go up first thing in the morning and bring a bunch of them cows down and kind of see what we can get done. And so that guy was like, "All right, cool. Like, yeah, I'm not doing anything, so I'll go with you." All right. And he's a not a fucking mountain of a man by any means, but he's a solid like 6'3", 200-pound guy, and he's riding this little fucking 14 two-hand pony. And this is just his claim, but he's like, this is the original Nez Perce pony, kind of what they would have rode. And he's like, they rode all this steep, crappy country, so they're tougher than hell. And like, I ride big horses. Like, I mean, shit, both of my good horses are 16 hands or a little bit over. And I mean, we go up there and pound rocks and shit. We do fine. But this little itty bitty horse packed this dude half a day with us till we got all these cows down, mothered this calf up with us. And yeah, we sat there and talked, and he was telling us and I don't remember all the history behind it, but it was basically how they had bred what they figured they would have originally ridden in that part of the country, and even further north from where we were at.
Huh.
And that was true here in the Panhandle. Most of the true Mustangs were little horses. I mean, they were not large horses.
Yeah, they're shitters. Like we call them shitters up here for a reason. They're fucking working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the quarter horse kind of like they got bred into existence from like Arabians and draft and like kind of a conglomeration of a whole bunch of shit.
Yep.
But somebody knew what they were doing. But yeah,
It might have taken him 100 years to figure out what they were doing, but
yeah,
and now they've backtracked on it. Like the horses that they're breeding nowadays, I mean, holy shit, they're hot dog performance horses. Like my wife and daughters run rodeo and run barrels and stuff, and I'm fairly big into hot rod rope horses and stuff and super cowy horses, but God, they're getting some pin bone and little feet and
they
I blame the cutters for that for the most part.
oh yeah, Smart Little Lena was kind of where that like really took a dive because like that was a bad cat that Smart Little Lena, but man they were chicken boned as shit.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I rode a lot of little horses. I rode a lot of little horses, and I rode some really good sons of pooches that could. They could travel as well as any big one for the most part. But I definitely understand what you're saying in that performance horse industry, where they are trying their best to absolute breed the usability and the longevity out of most of
yeah,
those horses.
yeah.
Well, and
Exactly.
I don't think that's my standpoint on it is I don't think they're trying to breed that stuff out of them. I think that's just kind of over the years because nobody breeds for allergies and nobody breeds for these, little fucked up things that show up in a breeding program. But like I've got a horse he's 16.2 and he's fuck, I forget how he's bred, but he's Pepto Bismol but he's a cutter bred horse. He's just a throwback from an old bloodline, and he got super tall and super big. Like he's fucking 1,350 pounds, 16.2 hands. He's a great big horse, and he is athletic as fuck. But he's got good feet, good leg to him. And if you go through and look at a whole bunch of horses that come out of the same bloodlines, they don't have all of that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not. At least I've never thought they're trying to breed that out of them, but I think that's just kind of a factor that's came in into maybe this horse that had a little bit smaller foot or was a little bit smaller bone could cut a cow off just a little bit quicker. And so I think it just kind of progressed to the point to where, oh well, shit, now we have all these tiny triple aught feet and tiny pin bone horses, and they're not holding up. Well, fuck, we did something wrong.
Yeah, well,
I agree. I don't think they were doing it out of malice for the most part. I agree with you there. I don't think it was malicious in intent to do a lot of that. I agree with you. I think it was just it's something that's rearing its head the further along we get into it. But I wouldn't accredit it to maliciousness. I'm sorry if I came across that way.
Yeah, no, not disagreeing with you. Just kind of my idea on the whole thing.
Sure.
No, but I think we're all on the same page. It's like, just all of a sudden they got real chicken bone, and then like the highbrow cat line took off. With deservedly. I mean that's a badass line, but they bred some bone back into the cutting line too, and that's a good thing. Like I really like that Doc's Hickory line. All the way back to Doc's Hickory. But they were pretty sturdy horses. They weren't super short. They weren't real tall. Just as athletic as the rest of them, but they had some bone structure to them still, and that's that's what the cutting horse was missing for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, not that metallic cat bloodline. I can remember. I don't remember if it was in a magazine or exactly how I got exposed to that metallic cat horse, but I was like, that son of a bitch is nice. Like, and I like big, tall horses. He's like 8 inches shorter than anything I'd ever want to own. But that metallic cat stud is a bad son of a bitch. And I think he's built right. I think he's short, but I think he's built right.
Yeah.
He's got decent sized feet underneath him for as small as he is. He's got pretty good bones. Like, I think if all that stuff keeps kind of following the trend that it has been, and he's well, shit, I think his breeding fee is like $10,000. So
Yeah.
Hard pass.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a little rich for my taste, but yeah, I think you're right. There was my dad traded for this little well, he's stud colt at the time, he's gelding now, but he was on the top side he was Hancock and Driftwood all the way back, but this dude was only like 14.2, but he weighed
Yeah.
all of 1250. I mean, he was a fucking tank.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that's a big Hancock thing is those
yeah,
Hancock horses are bony and they're thick.
mm, and
And
tough,
those,
just tough.
oh yeah, ignorant tough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a downfall because when you go to break one, it's not so much that they buck super hard. It's just like they're just so fucking blockheaded. Like like you could hit one with a hammer and he might acknowledge you, maybe.
Well,
Well,
that's
and I
so.
think,
Go ahead.
oh well, those we're talking about those Hancock horses. They were bred for a different time. This is my opinion, and I'm all about the modern horse training and all the groundwork we do and all that. And I'm a big fan of it because I don't like getting yard guarded, and I'm not a bronc rider, so I mean I
Yeah,
do my fair share of it.
yeah,
In my opinion, a lot of those Hancocky type horses, what fixes most of their shit, and what a lot of guys nowadays either don't have the opportunity or the want to, is miles. I mean,
yeah.
they're just a different kind of horse, man.
Yeah, they're
They
they're
need
they're a
miles.
desert type horse. Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're a buckaroo horse if there ever was one. Like let's go catch 30 miles today.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and so one of the interesting things. So like when I was young and I was riding a bunch of colts, so I rode a bunch of colts for some guys that live up north of me. We didn't have a big deal working them on the ground. Like it was, I wouldn't say that we like rolled them into a saddle, but I mean it was like you get enough trust out of them to where you can saddle the son of a bitch and step on them, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what you do.
Yeah,
right.
And I always thought those Hancock horses and kind of those old school bred horses that probably are a little bronky or this, that, and the other thing handled that a lot better than all the groundwork and all the bullshit.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
But
think you're right.
come like 5 or 6 years old, when they start to become their own horse, boy, you better cock your fucking hammer because you're gonna earn it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly right. That's exactly right. Uh, yeah, it's I don't know. That was always a thing. Like Doc Bar horses when they had like Doc Bar on their papers, and Hancock same way. Like, but and it doesn't matter how far back on Hancock. It's not so much that they are like the nastiest bucker. It's just like they're gonna buck regardless if you do anything about it. Like you can talk them out of it. You can do all the groundwork and everything. If they're gonna buck, they're
Oh,
gonna buck, and it's just whenever they feel like it. It may be right off the get go. It may be as you're like trotting up to the trailer, like you're 10 yards from the trailer, and they might blow. You never know, but they're going to.
that's I had a double bred Doc Bar mare, and I've always been big. Like Doc Bar top side, awesome. Doc Bar bottom side is fucking no good.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And so I had an opportunity, and actually a bay mare that I still own. So this is a really weird trade deal. So this gal had 3 horses. One of them was this double bred Doc Bar mare that was like 19 years old. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm interested in the mare. I don't want the other 2 horses. And she was like, well, I want a wood. I need a wood stove. and I had one for sale for $600, and she offered this trade deal. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm super interested in this mare, whatever. So the other two, I was basically like, and I don't know if y'all know this, but I used to slaughter horses or send horses to slaughter. Well, I didn't slaughter them myself, but anyway.
TJ murdered horses.
Yeah, I fucking went viral for this shit. It was a horrible deal. Horrible deal. I got death threats. Death threats. You would not believe that shit.
Oh, I
That's
can't even imagine.
outstanding.
I
But
got a
anyway,
story for you. Once you finish this, I got a story for you too.
so she's got these 3 horses and she wants to trade them, and I'm super interested in this one, even though she's older. And these other two, I'm just gonna shit can. And I'm kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. Like I think we can probably make that work. And she had this big, big kind of dopey bay horse that was out there. And I'm like, well, what's that one? And she's like, well, this gal put her here on pasture, and she hasn't really paid for the pasture. And shoot, I think I have her papered. And I'm like, oh, she's papered. Yeah, well, I think she's paper. I don't know. One of these other ones might be paper too. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Well, if you'll throw that one in on this deal, we can definitely make that work.
Oh yeah.
And the gal's, oh, I don't know. What if that gal comes back? And I'm like, well, when was the last time she was here? She was, oh, about a year ago. And I'm like, just look, I'll take her off your hands. It'll be a good deal for both of us. So she threw this bay mare, or well, filly in. She was 4 at the time, I think. And so basically she was free. I still have her today. She's one of my fucking nicest horses. I love that bitch to death. But I got her for free on this deal.
That's
Shitter,
awesome.
yeah, shitter grade mare. She's like 15-3 on the short side, 16 hands all day long. Like I gotta hold my pants up my leg to climb on the cut.
Hell yeah. Well, those deals can be had. That's one thing for sure. You got to wade through a lot of bullshit most of the
But
time.
I guess my deal's coming. Cause I've just got shitter so far.
Yeah, you're due, buddy. You're due.
That's it. I'm coming up anytime now.
Oh shit.
She was like the deal of the lifetime.
Yeah, I my good mare, I give $1,500 for her. She's a granddaughter of Dual Pep and Doc's Hickory, great granddaughter Doc's Hickory on the bottom or top side, and then some foundation blood way back. But she was a failed cutter, uh, broke to ride, uh, roped off of a little bit when I bought her. Like she's a feedlot horse extraordinaire. Like you couldn't ask for a better feedlot horse. She's not the best rope horse on earth, but like she'll cut anything you want, and she'll if something gets a little hooky, she'll just fucking take it. She don't give a shit. Uh, but then as soon as I step off and I throw my daughter on there, she just like her old head just goes whoop, and she's
Yeah.
she's an old plow horse as soon as you put a kid on there, and that's like you couldn't pay me enough money to get rid of her now.
That's kind of that same way with that bay mare.
Yeah, it's like, and she ain't the best at anything, but she's the best horse I've ever owned. She's just like that right now. Like if my little girl she'll be 6 here in a couple months, so like just enough to where like she's getting ready where she can saddle a horse herself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if she wants to do that, and she wants to take old Miss Clara out for a ride, I have no qualms with that. Like she could go saddle that horse and try to saddle that horse. Like just do whatever, and and she'll just stand there for her. And that's so. Like I won't get rid of her just for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Zach.
TJ.
Well,
So,
that Maymare of mine, that bitch will buck. Like she's not just she's pretty good with the kids, but I think she's bucked everybody in the house. She lost me in the gate working a cow one time.
That's the best, ain't it?
Kinda.
Trying to
And,
cover
and
a
then
hole.
the bitch turned and looked at me like, "Oh, what are you doing sitting there on the ground?" But yeah, she's bucked everybody in my shit. I think she's probably bucked my wife off more than she has anybody, but she's bucked all three of my kids off at least once. And she's bucked my wife off a few times. And she's flat hogged it to me a couple of times. I just got lucky and got by her. I mean, she flat jerked my head off when I was looking the other way one time, and I just happened to hang a foot in my cinch and get by her.
Yeah. Zach, I think he might back me up on this. Like this is kind of the difference between where we grew up and out west. Like, and then that might be the difference between private ground versus public ground, where like you know pastures ain't as big in eastern Colorado or Texas Panhandle. So if you get bucked off, eventually that horse has got to stop somewhere.
oh
You
yeah, I mean you'll get him
you
caught.
get bucked off on a government permit up in Idaho, and you might have a long fucking way back to wherever. Like you automatically get sticky when when you step out into a government permit.
Yeah, it. I don't know. It's a little different. So for a long time when I was riding the ranch bronc riding, like fuck, I hardly ever fell off one of my saddle horses. And in 2016 was the last year that I rode in the ranch bronc ride, and I ended up blowing my shoulder out. But like the weekend before I blew my shoulder out, I had a little colt that we had just flat blow apart. And like I'm loping down the arena getting ready to neck this steer. We had some friends that had a bunch of like not even loper roping steers, just kind of go down at a trot. And I stood up a little bit further than what I should have, I guess. And I just reached out and went to neck this son of a bitch, and I caught. And just about the time I went to pull my slack or had my slack about halfway pulled, this little bitch broke into. And we go hogging down the arena, and I just like never missed a lick with her. The whole thing that pissed me off is I never could get to the horn, and she burned like 30 foot of rope through my hand. So I was pissed off about that, but it didn't fall off of her. The next weekend I'd go out and blow my shoulder out in the bronc riding.
No fuck. Oh,
You know, I'll
Jeff,
kind of.
did you find
back.
some?
I'm back.
Some internet.
Yeah. If it happens again, I'm just gonna have to run that down the valley and get somewhere I know I'll have internet.
It's all good, buddy. Yeah, it's yeah. We were talking before we went live, but that of all the struggles of doing a cowboy podcast is technology, because we're cowboying, Chet. It's a hell of a life, huh?
It's a hell of a life.
Starving. My kids are starving, but that's okay. Good job.
Yeah. You know what? Hey, we have fun every morning, all right?
That's it. Yeah.
Can you do that, Bonnie?
We were talking about how my horse trades go, and I'll kind of give you an example. I got a mare give to me, and she wasn't bad. She's pretty nice to look at, and hell, you could crawl on her. And she made me so damn nervous because you could put a full day in on her, and she wouldn't do shit. She's good to go. And
Yeah.
then it was just like the little marble rolled around in her head, and she would buck your ass off. And I couldn't ride her. She did that move where she'd suck back through her asshole every 2 jumps, and I flat
Oh, yeah.
couldn't keep up with her.
Yeah.
Finally, I thought she did it to me in the pens there one day, and I thought, the hell with it, I'm going to get her sold. I'm done with this. And that was back whenever you could sell horses on Facebook, and a guy commented, I think he was out of Arkansas somewhere, but he said, yeah, can you ride her? And I was like, yeah, you can ride her. You know, she's fine. He was a horse trader, so I'm a big believer that you can't lie to people, but you don't have to just lift up your skirt and show them everything type stuff.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
anyway, he asked, he said, well, can you meet me at the Oklahoma City stockyards and let me look at her? I said, yeah, that's no problem. So we drove to the stockyards out with me and a buddy. And this is out just in the parking lot of the Oklahoma City stockyards on pavement, you know. And I backed her out of the trailer, and he was looking at her and petting her, and he had about probably 12-year-old kid with him. And me and that guy were talking about her, and she was papered, and we were talking about her papers. She was Tivio Silver Cat and whatever. Then all of a sudden I look over, and this 12-year-old kid is sitting astraddle of her bareback there in the parking lot, just holding that halter lead rope. And I told him, I said, whoa. I said, I ain't liable for anything that goes down in this parking lot now. And he said, no, it's fine. You know, she's good. And I was like, yeah, she's okay. I said, just watch it. And she just dropped her old head and spun a circle like I had trained her to do, tried to, and couldn't get her to do the majority of the time. She spun the other way. Boy,
It was the
like
first time she did it right, huh?
That's it. Yeah, she looked like a horse. I guess she should have been a Hackamore horse. I don't know. I probably running the wrong bit. I don't know what the hell. Anyway, point in. But boy, she spun, looked pretty, backed up, tucked her old nose, and walked back. And that guy said, "My God, we'll take her." And I said, "You better load that bitch. I do not want her." And maybe I can't remember what the made on it, but I called it square.
Oh man, I had this little red gelding. He was a red dun. Uh, Came from one of my dad's best brood mares. She was Poco Bueno and Go Man Go. Just a sweetheart little mare. Uh, he bred her to Go Man Go running stud 3 or 4 times through some really nice colts, and her very last one just a little crosswired, and this motherfucker like when you're in the saddle you're probably all right. Um, if you step down to dock or something, you better clip that bit to the rope or that horse was gone, and like not just like running away, being mischievous and being a little dickhead, you know, like looking at you while their tails up in the air and like trotting a circle. No, like this fucker had his eyes rolled up in his head and just fucking
Gone.
gone. And he's running bred, so motherfucker could run too. And like after about the third time I stepped off and that fucker just pulled away and just yeah, that horse is gonna kill somebody. So I sent him to the sale, and one of the clerks that worked there at the sale barn bought him, and I just called to see what he brought, and she's like, "What can you tell me about him?" I was like, "Well, don't step off." I said, "If you're on his back, you can do anything you want. Don't step down." Because that fucker's gonna and it's it was in Fallon, Nevada, so it was like there's a lot of desert outside of Fallon. Good luck finding him. You know, like that fucker's gonna run.
Fuck. I got fuck good horse selling story for you. So this old boy had this sturdy, pretty fucking roan horse, and this is like 15 years ago when roan horses weren't as common, maybe. And I was like, "What do you want for that son of a bitch?" And he's like, "Oh, son, you don't want that horse." And I'm like, "Oh, bullshit! I can ride anything with her." And
Yep.
he's like, "Well, I guess if you really want her for $100, I'll sell her to you." And 15 years ago around here, like $100 for a horse was a fairly common thing. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, 5-6 years ago, we used to buy relatively decent papered horses for $300 to $500 all day long. And so I picked this horse up, and he's like, well, I haven't fucked with him very much, but he's kind of an alligator. And I'm like, shit, he'll be all right. And so we run him in this set of corrals, load him in my trailer, and I fucking take off home. So I get home, and I just think I'm fucking God's gift to cowboys. Like, I think I just got the greatest deal in the world. So get on my old man's good broke horse, rope this fucker, kind of get him mothered up, get a halter on him, step off. All right, he's kind of cool for this first, 20 minutes. Take the halter off of him, kick him out. Like, all right, shit, that went way better than what I was expecting from what that guy said. All right, cool. Every time after that, if that son of a bitch didn't try and paw me, kick me, bite me, anything, son of a bitch, was legitimately out to hurt somebody. And I tried going about it the same way I did the first time, putting a halter on him, rope him off another horse. No, didn't want nothing to do with that. I tricked him that first time. He figured it out, whatever. And so I got this son of a bitch caught, and I'm like, I'm just going to haul him into the cow sale. Like, somebody will buy him as a kill horse. He'll go to someplace else. And so I'm walking this prick across the parking lot, and he's about halfway halter broke. But I'm walking him across the parking lot, and I'm always looking back at him like, this son of a bitch is going to eat me. And this guy, I don't know how old he was, but 56-year-old guy comes up and he's like, hey, son, I really like that horse. You want to sell him? And I'm like, man, listen, you don't want this horse. And he's like, no, I really want that horse. And I'm like, no, look, this son of a bitch is going to hurt somebody. Like, he's going to kill somebody. And he's, no, I really want, how much do you want for him? And I, no, I'm just going to run him through the ring. If you want to buy him, then buy him. No deal. And he's like, well, I'll give you $500 for him right now. And I was like, $500? $500 cash money right now. All right.
So
cool. Yeah. Show me the money. And he fucking whips his wallet out, $500. We take him back to his horse trailer, and he's like, well, did you tie? And I'm like, well, I never really tied him to anything before, but fuck, I guess you can try it. And he's like, oh, we'll just load him. All right. So, bless his heart, he jumped right in this fucking old boy's trailer. And I just threw the fucking lead rope over his back, bailed out of the trailer. The guy's like, you don't want your halter? I'm like, for $500, you can fucking have it. I was like, oh, hands me the money, and I never seen that old guy again. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
I'd say he's probably dead.
Yeah. That was fucking rotten.
Mm.
Oh.
Now,
Yeah,
I got kind of a weird question. Oh, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
I was say I know I've had those horses. I mean, there's some of them you're just like, nah, fuck that piece of shit. It's like whatever happens to them, they deserve it.
Yeah. Matt, I got a question. Did either of you guys, Matt, sounds like you did, so I guess more to TJ. Now, TJ, did you grow up cowboying and ranching, or did you come into it later in life?
Kind of a little bit of both. So I was a Navy brat. My dad was born in Nebraska, and I think he was 3 when they moved to Idaho, and my family's been right around this area, or that side of my family's been right around this area ever since. But I was born back east in Maryland, and then I think I was 3 years old. We moved down to Port Aransas, Corpus Christi area, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for 8 years. And then when my dad retired, we moved back home. And I got until I was probably 11 when we moved up here. So I went 2 years. So I've got an uncle that's huge into the cattle industry. I mean, the cattle industry has made him a millionaire several times over. Um, so I worked with him a lot, and I got an eye for it, sorting and learning how to do some of that stuff, and I really enjoy it. And then probably 13 or 14. Well, my folks got a divorce when I was 12, and 13 and 14, I really rebelled against the guy that my stepmom married. He's still to this day my stepdad. I love that guy to death. He taught me a lot of life lessons. But anyhow, and then when I got to be about 15 years old and I started to kind of have a driver's license and do some stuff on my own, I kind of went back into it. And then, like a lot of teenage kids, my mom and my stepdad took my pickup away from me when I was about 16. And so I went and just rebelled harder. And so I got kind of into a little bit of everything. Like shit, still this day I ride a skateboard and listen to fucking hardcore punk rock screamo music, and yeah, it's weird how life comes around in a full circle to you. So I think I was right around 18 years old when I had an old guy stop and talk to me and ask me if I knew anything about cows, and I went and took a kind of a day work ranch hand job in Pendleton and kind of grew back into loving it. And I'm married to her now, but I'd been with the gal and she got pregnant, and not too long after I turned 18 she had our first kid. And so I was working at a feedlot and went and did the oil field gig, and we made enough money doing that and kind of got a start to where I could have my own little bunch of cows. And so now we're still trying to make that deal work. And I live on the ranch that my stepdad's family, it's been in my stepdad's family since the 40s. And so, I mean, yeah, to answer your question, a little bit of both.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
No, go, Matt. What's kind of your backstory? I'm interested.
Okay, so I grew up. Well, I was born in Denver, and I moved to southeast Colorado when I was like 2 months old. I grew up in a town called Campo.
Mm-hmm.
I've
If you've been
actually
on
been there.
I was
Yeah,
saying if
been
you've
there a
been on
bunch.
287, you've probably
Oh yeah.
got a ticket in Campo. They were at one point they raised over $1.5 million just stopping people in Campo,
Yeah,
Colorado.
sounds like
But
Esthelene, Texas.
yeah, yeah, quotas were a big deal there. But anyway, like my biological dad was drafted right out of high school. Went to Vietnam. Served. I think he went 3 tours there. Got a couple Purple Hearts, Bronze Star. Just typical Vietnam shit. Fucked him up real bad for life. He was a good dude, not a good father. Got put in
Mm.
foster care for about 3 years before I got put with my folks that adopted me. And yeah, my dad was a cowboy for a living. Like he day worked and worked for a gas company. That's where he actually made his salary. But like his work was he day worked. And my second time on a horse was 21 or 22 mile on a or 21 or 22 mile ride through the canyon country of southeast Colorado. And I also caught the flu that day. And so the next day I woke up, I couldn't move my legs because I'd rode 22 miles the day before, and then I was running like 104 fever or some shit like that.
Woo!
Like, yeah, like I wasn't feeling very good. And yeah, when that day, like you could have never told me I was gonna get on a horse again because I hated everything. But hey, I was stuck in that house, and that's what I had to do. And then I got to where I rode a lot of Colts growing up, and I hated it until I went to college, and then like I spent a summer up there, and I worked really hard that summer, but I was like, man, I kind of miss riding Colts. And then when I graduated college up there at CSU, I was just like, well, uh, I don't know. I'll go work on a ranch for a little while, and no, it's one of those things that I get when once it's in your blood, you're just like, well, I guess that's I'll go cowboy for a little bit, huh?
Sure. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, it's not a great decision, but it always seems like a good decision at the time.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. That was I. So I was born here in the Panhandle. I was born in Amarillo. My dad, he cowboyed. Well, we lived on. He managed the ranch, O'Brien Ranch, there south of McLean, Texas. A lot of people call it the Swamp. Kind of a unique
Yeah,
ranch for the
I know where you're
Panhandle.
at.
Has a lot of live water, so it's kind of unique for this part of the country. But anyway, growing up, so I kind of grew up, and I mean, I grew up around what I would call, I guess a lot of guys would call kind of big ranch cowboys. And there, as a kid, I thought they were the coolest thing ever. They had their hats creased right, and wore their, had the right kind of spurs and the right kind of bits. And my great granddad, Dolly Wynn, was kind of my hero. And he'd been a big ranch cowboy since after World War II, I guess, or before that too. He worked for Lewis's and Morehouses and Cogdules and Matadors, and all them guys. So I thought kind of growing up, that's what I wanted to do. And then we left O'Brien's, ended up at a ranch called Terra Rosa Ranch. And by that time I was in high school. And as one of them deals, as both of y'all know, whenever you're kind of that teenage age, whenever you're a little kid, you get to go horseback, help your dad with the fun stuff. And then you hit a
Yeah,
certain age where they decide that you're old enough to help, and then all of a sudden it's shit work galore. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Then you get all this shit they don't want to do, and that started
yeah.
happening. And I
You're
thought, well,
either
I don't want to do this. Go ahead.
I say you're either gonna run a pair of post pounders, or you're gonna get on a bronc, or both. But
Right?
that's what
Yeah.
it is.
And so I kind of hit that age, and I kind of fell out of love with it. Probably my last couple of years of high school, I kind of fell out of love with it, and I decided, well, I'll go to Texas Tech and I'll do something with my life besides cowboying. I don't really, just didn't really have that fire in my belly like I wanted to do it. And I went and made it a full semester at Texas Tech before they sent me a dirty little letter telling me I couldn't come back. And so my options all of a sudden had gotten narrowed, and
Yeah,
I come back home, and I knew, I was like, well, shit, I need a job, and I was kind of hard up. And a guy named Scott Lindley, there in Memphis, Texas, hired me to ride well, he's a cutting horse trainer, but he took a lot of horses for the public just in general. Put 30 days, maybe 60 days on them. And he hired me to ride all his broncs. I'm sure appreciative of it. Now, Scott was one of the more naturally gifted horsemen I've ever been around. He might get offended that I say that, too, because he put a lot of work into being a good horseman. But just had a real natural
yeah,
knack for it. And after getting horseback again, for a little bit, you kind of, like you guys said, once you kind of come away from it and then come back, it kind of reinvigorates you, I guess. And, yeah, from there, I was trying to think. After that, I ended up in southern Oklahoma on a ranch, and that's where I met one of your previous guests, Sean Williams.
Oh, that fucking guy.
That,
I love that guy. He is so
oh,
funny.
Sean's actually probably legitimately one of my biggest influences besides my own dad and my great granddad, because I ran into him in southern Oklahoma, and I still didn't really have a plan, you know. And Sean told me all these stories about traveling. Hell, Sean's worked everywhere in good
Oh
hands.
yeah.
My old 19-year-old eyes are kind of bug out hearing all of his stories. And so I listened to him for a little bit, and I went up to Wyoming. As soon as I seen a job offer there in the Tetons, and I took it, I thought, well, this is my chance for adventure and wanderlust and what have you. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's just a fucking job. But it just kind
Yeah.
of depends. But then after
All right, well,
Wyoming, I
I'm
went.
gonna stop you right there. That
No,
might
go
be the
ahead.
That might be the quote of the century. Sometimes
You
just a
like that?
fucking job. I love that. I
Oh yeah,
love that.
that's it, man. It's yours.
That's good. that's that's great.
That's like
Oh yeah,
everybody that's ever gone to work on the fucking Diamond A in Arizona.
I've been
Well,
there, dude. I was on that
okay,
wagon.
I haven't been
Yeah,
there, but it's just
that fucking wagon deal. That's, oh my god, I'm gonna go on the wagon. This is the coolest job ever, and everybody I've ever talked to said it fucking sucks.
see, that's the
It's
same
work.
way.
I mean, there's a lot of work involved.
That's the same way with Pokey Feeders out of Scott City, Kansas. Like everybody, like a lot of cowhands will say, like, yeah, it ain't a bad job if you want to work, but that if you want to work, they
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
bunch
yeah,
of it.
yeah. Yeah, that other guy that you were interviewing, Brandon Lord, I worked for him. Sean Williams actually got me that job, and I worked for Brandon
Yeah,
Mancatlin. He's another damn good egg. Brandon's a good son of a bitch now.
yeah, he seemed like it. He seemed like it.
He is. Brandon's a good guy, and that is like I said, he was sure a lot of fun to work with. And that's it's kind of funny because you hear all these ranches nowadays, ranches, feedlots, doesn't matter who. I've heard a million of them say, you just can't find good help. There's just no good help left. And then you get to talking to them, and shit, they want to run it like it's a Walmart. They want to talk to them. They want to talk to their hired man every hour on the hour, and they
Yep.
really don't want an independent-minded type guy. And it's like, well, maybe it's just the good help won't work for you. Have you entertained that thought? Which they won't,
Exactly.
but.
No, they never will.
Mhm.
When I was there at Cactus when we were doing the confined cow calf deal,
Mhm.
that was the biggest thing. Is like I could always find help, like, but bad help, shit. I just soon work by myself. I mean, I if,
Sure.
if I gotta pick between myself and I was my I guess it was the last episode there with Scott Hall. Like I feel like I've just become like the crotchety old fuck anymore. It's just like if I gotta choose between working alone or hiring a new guy that I'm gonna have to train and he's gonna be gone in 6 months, I just soon work alone. I
Sure.
I don't particularly want that, but at the end of the day, I'd kind of prefer that because at least if I'm gonna get fired, I know it's gonna be because something that I fucked up. It's not gonna
Right.
be
It's shit
because
you did, not shit someone else did.
yeah, exactly,
I
yeah,
got a good insight story, to kind of go along with what you guys are talking about, and it was a fucking huge slap in the face for me, and kind of one of them things that, and my kids are older. My oldest kid's 13, so it was a big slap in the face on how right or wrong this new generation of people learns a little bit different. Like, I'm 31 years old, um, and so I don't know how old y'all are, but um, we learn shit different than what even somebody that's 25 years old might have learned it. But
yeah.
I got a really good story that'll play into that difference between good help, bad help, and shit like that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hear it.
Um, but I don't mean to butt in on yours, but so
No, no, go ahead.
um, out of it, and it's all on me. It's all fault on me, and it's a young kid that corrected me on it. um, so I was branding calf, and my like biggest pet peeves, like we head and heel brand up here a lot of times. One of my biggest pet peeves, Brandon, is when people try to jerk a calf down. Like, somebody's got him neck, somebody's caught 1 foot, and somebody try to tail a calf down on the side that's not roped.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
that's like brain fucking head explodes, biggest pet peeve. Like, just
Yeah, yeah.
from
I'm right there with you.
zero to
And
completely aggravated right
yeah,
now.
I,
And
I've and I've been on the ground crew side where like you just jump in somewhere and like you just grab whatever comes up and like as you're pulling, you're just like, oh fuck, I'm on the wrong side. God damn it, I hate that. Yeah,
Sure.
like that's that bugs the shit out of me. But
So,
like you'll see guys doing it consistently. Yeah.
well, and shit, it wasn't. I don't know. I've always been the guy that kind of like, I'm never gonna run to a excuse me, I'm never gonna run to a calf that somebody's got roped. Like I was probably about 13, 14 years old when I got whipped in the dick and was like, no, you don't do that. They got them horses for a reason. All right,
Amen.
cool. So I don't run to them fuckers. But we're at this Brandon, and there's these young kids, and they are just working their ass off to get this calf down, and they're pulling the tail on the wrong side. And it's raining, it's cold, it's like the shittiest branding that you can imagine. And so I'm already pissed off at the world. And I just go to tearing this kid a new one. You know, pull the fucking tail on the right side. And I mean, you name it, I was saying it. And I forget how much younger than me he is, but he's a Kent Wages or Kent Batten. He's a super good hand, super good kid. Hell of a bronc rider. And, really, 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 really good guy. But he's like, hey, those are my little brothers. If you're gonna cuss at them like that, you can step off your horse right now.
Are you?
And so I was like, all right, Kent, you want to do it? Let's step down. And so the paint horse that I ride, if there's a lot of shit going on around him, he's like dancing on eggshells. He's has to come apart. So I start to tie off, and he jumps sideways, and I'm like, you just give me a minute, and I'll get off this son of a bitch. And so we get this calf done.
I'll kick your ass, but you give me a
fucking
second.
jump right in the middle of Kent's shit. I'm like, you fucking listen here. Them motherfuckers have no business being out there if they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And Kent's like, you know what? Where the hell did you learn? I'm kind of all right on the ground. And he's like, did you fuck up? Yeah, I fucked up a lot. Did you get cussed out like that? Yeah, I did. All right. Well, here's the deal. Those kids aren't going to take that like you did. They're not going to take that like I did. You just talk to them. Makes a big difference. All right, Kent. That's fair. And he goes, how do you talk to your kids when they make a mistake? I'm like, well, I yell at them. Kind of felt bad about it. And he's like, yeah, how do you like getting yelled at? I'm like, well, that's how I learn. Like, I don't want to get yelled at again, so I make sure I do better.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, they don't always work that way. A lot of these ones, they want to just shut down. They get yelled at. They're not doing it right. They stop. All right, Kent, we'll try it your way. And so the next time we went, I was on the head side. This guy rolled up, roped a back foot. And I was like, hey, and I was riding by this kid. And I'm like, hey, just step over his rope when I come by. He's like, grab that calf by the tail. Just jerk him right down. He'll fall right down. I'll give you some rope, help you out real good. That kid stepped over, did everything, told him real nice, calm. And the next time, I think I headed like 2 or 3 calves after that, and they'd caught 2 feet. And the next time the one come in, I didn't have rope on it, and I'm like, hey, remember what I told you? And that kid, without even missing a beat, stepped over, jerked that calf down, and Kent's like, see, if you just talk to them, he's like, they handle it different than what they did 15 years ago. And so I'm talking about having good help or maybe good help don't want to work with you. There are a lot of them kids out there that have a hell of a lot of insight. They didn't have to grow up in it or do whatever. But and it could be the uncoming of or the falling apart of America, or the manly man, or whatever you want to call it. But there's something to be said for just talking to some of them kids, or even a grown man, through something, rather than a cow boss yelling at him or something like that. I'm starting to become, having older kids and stuff like that, become a lot more of a believer in it, and especially having a wife that's fairly sensitive. That makes a big difference too.
Yeah, yeah. When you got a wife jumping down your neck, yeah, like you learn how to tone it down pretty quick.
Yeah. Or well, mine always just quits and goes to the house. I yell too many times. She fucking, there goes all your hell.
Yeah. No, and but on the other end of that deal is like I think like from where you're coming, I think that's 100% correct. Like there's a lot of these kids at a Brandon nowadays that like they don't know what the fuck's going on, but also they haven't been told the right way.
Sure.
But also you look at some of these cities and it's like, well, some of those kids just need their fucking teeth punched in once, just one time. Like
Oh yeah.
get fucking smacked right in the teeth, and they'll be like, oh yeah, maybe I don't need to do this.
Think
100%.
about
It
the
makes your
atmosphere
own
that they're
blood take a
coming
lot of
from,
shit
though.
perspective.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, TJ. It's
Like
yeah,
the
it's the where they're coming from. Yeah,
the coaches can't be hard on kids anymore,
yep,
because they got mom and dad jumping down their throat. Well, my kid didn't deserve to be yelled at, and honestly, I'd rather go back to just chew everybody's fucking ass, and everybody would quit being a fucking chicken shit pussy about everything, and you do better because you don't want your ass chewed again.
yeah,
But and there's one of them things too, that once you get to a certain level, and I'd like to think that I'm at that point, and a lot of times I'm not, but I've turned down going to some Brandons and turned down going to help some people, because I like to think I know what I'm doing, and I make the right decision when I need to make that decision. And if somebody chews my ass for it, all right, well, I just won't fucking go there again.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Well,
for sure.
I know from my perspective on it, I think most people that I know that do this for a living, everyone kind of accepts to a certain extent. Ass chewings happen. They happen. You know what I mean? People
Yeah,
screw shit up. We're all human.
Absolutely.
I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, and in my opinion, and this is just me, if you can learn, I will take being yelled at if I screw up, because if I screwed up, I know I got it coming. There's a line there, and I think people don't like being belittled. If
yeah,
you come up and say, "God damn it, you tore this blank and blank up,"
yeah,
most guys will go, "God damn, I'm sorry." If you come up and you're a stupid little bastard, dumb mother, all that stuff, well, they're not going to respond as well. You know what I mean? It's like, don't
yeah,
make it personal unless it's personal type stuff.
yeah,
People
exactly.
don't respond well to being belittled, and at the second you start belittling people, they're done. They have shut
Yeah,
out anything productive you have to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That is a very good point there that you bring up, Zach. Because I've said for many years, like I have no problem taking an ass chewing I deserve, but I will
Yeah,
not sit by and take an ass chewing I don't deserve. Like if I
absolutely.
don't
Yeah,
deserve it, if I don't deserve it, you don't expect me to sit by and take it. Fuck you.
yeah, 100%.
Like if you're coming at me with something that I wasn't a part of, or that wasn't my fault, you bet your ass my hackles are gonna be all the way fucking up, and I'm coming right back at you. But if I
Hmm.
deserve it, I will have my head bowed, and I'll just like, yes sir, yes sir, yeah, I understand, I understand.
That's it. I
But
did it. Turn it up.
we've also all I like Jeff. I don't know like I know you're quite a bit younger than us, but I've seen
Yeah.
your videos and shit. Like you've been around cowboying long enough. Like you know when you deserve an ass chewing, and
Right.
when you deserve an ass chewing, you put your head down and you walk back and you just do what you're told. But
Right.
if you
Like,
don't, and if somebody just pops off at you, and you're like, no, motherfucker, yeah, come at me, because no, I'm not gonna take an ass chewing I don't deserve.
yeah.
But if I fucked up, yeah, I it's a whole different deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm quite a bit younger. I actually turned 20 last Sunday.
Well, hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy
And
birthday.
kind of what I've noticed, especially with my generation, because like cow ranching, farming generate like agriculture generations, they aren't like population ones. You know how there's like
Mm-hmm.
you have the boomers and the millennials and the Gen Z. Well, what me and a couple of my uncles have determined is there's really in the agriculture world there's a generation difference every 10 years or so. And what I
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
if not five.
yeah. Yeah, closer to 5. That's what yeah, I remember now, yeah. But I've noticed with a lot of kids my age that they don't you can't fucking yell at them or nothing because they just so up and want to go cry about it. But I can see that because I was raised around a lot of people a lot older than me, and I can pick out the differences between like when I deserve to get fucking ass chewed, like when I fuck up and when I capital F fuck up.
Yeah.
That's when you can
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like this
There's
spring.
a difference.
This spring, I'll go back to what TJ was saying about branding. Like I'm kind of bigger and I'm bulky built. Like I can fucking manhandle a calf. And I have this one habit of mine where if they're if it's a smaller calf, I'll get on a front leg and just flip the little fucker. But I have an
Yeah.
Sure.
uncle who's only 5 years older than me, and he sat there this spring and chewed my ass. But hell, I can get calves down better doing that than pulling on their tail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Well,
know
then
what
yeah,
you mean.
them little calves like that, absolutely. And I mean,
Well,
at the
well,
end
little
at the
calves
end
for
of the
me are
day,
anything
we're
up
here
to
to raise
300.
livestock the best way that we know how between the four of us. So I mean, I'm all open to if there's a better way to do something. Absolutely, let's try it out.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. Like I've hotboxed a bunch of calves where like there's no rope, there's no horses or ropes involved. You reach up and grab a hawk and and you just pull them to you. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's not the best branding ever. It's by any means it's not fun, but in the situation that there is, like it makes sense. Like you when you look at the guy that's running the cows, you're like, well, it is what it is. So you get tough and you figure out how to do it without getting kicked in the fucking teeth. But you're probably gonna get kicked in the teeth at least twice, uh, because I mean, it's just how it is. But you figure out how to work it, and it's the same way with any other brand. And when you figure out how the best way to do it is, that's how you go. And the best thing about the hot box deal is what you figure out, well, when you're doing it wrong, because you get kicked in the fucking teeth, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you learn real quick. And like, no, you can't just go running into to a bunch of calves, because eh, they're gonna kick. So you ease
Sure.
into it. And I mean, it just and it was never like we never did a huge bunch of calves at that deal. It was always like maybe 100 head. But it was, I mean, you worked for your lunch that day.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and which, well, right now, all you guys, I'm sure, know about it, but there's a pretty hardcore kind of, I don't even know how you say it. I guess kind of, I don't know if it'd be people call it like cowpuncher versus buckaroo debate or tied off versus long ropes, and the dally on rubber guys are just kind of neutral zone. I don't know what you would call it, but people get pretty hung up on this is how we do stuff and this is the only way
Mm,
you can do stuff.
Mhm.
Now, and
yeah,
growing
I
up,
hate that.
I grew up in tie-off country. That's how I learned. I never learned to dally. I can dally now because I've gone out and kind of had, basically just wanted to learn it. But growing up, no one ever taught me to dally. Whenever it was time to learn how to drag calves, your dad walked up there and you did, and he tied your rope off to your saddle and you tied off. That was just how it was.
Yeah.
Um, and then you get up, and I kind of, I had never worked with a long rope guy till I went up north. And we always teased each other, but it was for the most part in good fun, and we roped really well together. I mean, hell, I've got a good majority of my buddies are long rope guys, buckaroo
Yeah.
type guys. Hell, we all cowboy together and worked together, and nobody had a bad thing to say about the other because, as far as we were concerned, as long as you could get it done, it was right.
Yeah.
And I think guys, a lot of guys are really bad about getting hung up on, like you said, flanking one by grabbing, or Jeff, like you said, reaching over and grab one by that front leg to roll him. Well, if it works,
Yeah.
I'm just not wired to be mad at people because, it's different than what I do. I really don't care for the most part, as long as it works.
Hey, yeah. Amen. Like, get
Well,
it done, and not work your cattle up. Like that's the whole deal. Is like keep your cattle calm and get the job done.
Sure.
and I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, anybody with a minute insight to how to go about doing things can say whether or not somebody's doing it wrong. Like, I don't care if you get it done with 30-foot rope. I don't care if you get it done with 70. Like, when I
Yeah.
was a kid, I used to pack 70-foot of rope. You want to know why? Well, I dallied on a slick horn, and it might take me 70-foot of rope to be able to do this job. Well, now I pack
Sure.
50. I can pack 30 and rope slick horn and still get the job done. I pack 50
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
for me, with 50 foot, I might not ever need that extra 20, but you know what? If I do, it's nice to have it there, for one.
Sure.
And for two, if I need to slow something down and take one turn and start slowing them down with that and burn 10 foot around the horn, and I do it, and I've done it, I have it there. And then not only
I'm
that,
with you. Yeah.
when shit goes wrong and I've got a trailer that's 25 foot long and I got to run my rope all the way through the front of it, well, goddamn it, I don't want to just have 5 foot to dally on with. I want to have 15.
Right.
I mean,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, there's 100 different ways to skin a cat. None of them are wrong. But there are a few ways or a few things that a guy can do that are wrong. And I mean, people preach about, oh, you trip this foot, and I desperately tried not to doctor by myself. One, I'm not very good at doctoring by myself. Two, 99 times out of 100, when I am doctoring by myself, I got to jerk shit down. So I don't like to do that. So I try and get somebody to heal for me. All right, like, I'll neck them, you heal them. If they're really sick, you heal them, and I'll jump on their head. If I have to tie a horse off to front feet, great, whatever. But however we can get this job done with my skill set and your skill set and have it be smooth and get the job done and not make it harder on cattle than what it has to be, great. I could give a fuck less if you're tied off, if you're open on rubber. Absolutely, I'm gonna bust your balls. If you need a horn knot to rope, I'm gonna bust your balls. If you gotta have rubber on your horn, I'm gonna bust your balls. But if you're not busting my balls, it's probably not near as much fun for me as what I think it should be.
Yeah. But at the end of the day,
100%. Yeah.
if you can pick up at least one, but hopefully pick up two, that like that's all that matters. Like can you hold your weight? That's the only thing that matters.
And that's another thing too that comes with doctoring with two people. Like if I'm especially big cattle, like mama cows and bulls and stuff like that, when we're heading and healing that stuff, do not rope 2 back feet. Rope 1.
Yeah.
All I need you to do is hold that fucker there and let him step ahead over, because I'll neck him or somebody else will neck him. And then we'll throw slack under 2 front feet. You catch 1 foot. We'll throw slack under 2 front feet. You let him walk ahead. We'll pull that tight. We'll lay him down. It'll be slicker than fuck. Don't catch 2 feet. That's fucking so much work.
Yeah. Well, I've had an Indian fella explain that to me, and he was also really drunk, so he didn't explain it near as well. But that makes a lot of sense.
That's right. So he was a real Indian.
I think it does anyway.
No, there's a lot of benefit to that long rope, and Zach, I know, I grew up where like it's all short rope, horn knot. If you're packing a 60-foot rope, it's because you don't have a fast enough horse or something like that. That's what everybody says. But
oh yeah,
like when you actually work with the guys that know how to use a long rope, fuck, it's a lot easier. Like when you know somebody that actually can, like you said, Jeff, when you can throw some slack out there and after you've got them necked, get those 2 front feet. Like there's something to that, and
well,
I,
I would add, anybody that says they can't wrap up cattle tied off probably doesn't have much business tying off. I wrap up a lot of cattle personally. It's all the similar concept. Learn to handle your slack, and I don't care if you're dallying or tied or whatever.
Yeah, no, you're 100%.
I have
right
absolutely no business tying off. Absolutely no business tying off.
No, one time, this was 2 years ago. My brother, he was calf roping when we were in high school, and my dad bought him this little calf roping dummy he bought to go behind the 4-wheeler, ones that you pull and the dummy just comes flying off.
Yeah.
And my brother left me and my dad were playing around with it, and I'm on his old broke bridle horse, and I come out and I neck it and yank it off. I go to dally and I got my horns caught in it. That was the moment I knew that I should probably never tie onto my saddle horn.
Well,
yeah, it would be.
It's oh, go ahead.
It's hard. So my oldest daughter is pretty big in the breakaway route, and that big bay mare I was telling you about, she's my oldest daughter's breakaway horse now. 2 years ago when we were starting her out, so like I had to heel on her in the team roping, and so getting her to cross over from the heel box to be able to neck something in breakaway roping was really hard for her. She never, and she still fucks it up a lot.
Sure.
But I jumped on her, and we have breakaway Hondus, and so we're tied off, and I get her to cross over. I reach out and I neck this calf, jerk my slack, and like I can't let go of that. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like pull my slack, and then I'm like, all right, I'm tied off. I don't have to go to the horn, but I still have this big coil in my hand, and I'm like, nope, can't let go.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Whenever I started that, I packed 60 foot of cotton for a little bit, and like I said, I have packed, and I've got my horn wrapped right now. I mean, I have nothing against the long rope stuff, that was, I assume it'd be the same for a dally guy learning to tie off. And I didn't have to relearn how to rope necessarily. I had to relearn how to ride my horses, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah.
No, that's
Mhm.
100% right. 100%
Mhm.
right.
Let me
Yeah,
guess, Zach, you stopped your horse.
say that again.
Let me guess. Let me guess this. You stopped your horse when you caught.
Yeah, well, and I never asked my horses to just shut it down because I don't like ripping stuff over backwards and that kind of stuff. But yes, your first reaction is start slowing down. And whenever I was dallying, then all I ended up with were these massive welts and people chasing my rope.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, I packed 50, 60 foot, 70 foot of that shit for a long time, and a lot of poor fuckers had to chase my rope. So don't feel too bad
Sure.
about it.
No, well, I never felt bad, as I always chalked it up to learning experience. So
No, I've growing up where I did, like we were, um, I'd say like Southeast Colorado. There was a few like old school punchers that just tied on all the time. There was a few, but most everybody dallied on rubber, and
sure.
and then I moved out here to Nevada, and everybody's on slickhorn, and then so you get Colorado people talking shit on the Nevada people. You got Nevada people talking shit on the Colorado people, and it's all a difference of opinion. I like I've known some really handy fellas that have never dallied a day in their life. Like they know how to handle that slack. They know how to actually shut a horse down where you're not just yanking one over backwards. And but also I know some big loop guys that like if you say right now, like just a kef busts off into nowhere, and like that old fucker with the tapaderos and everything can build a loop right to him and get one necked right away. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just like a hand is a hand is a hand. I
Yeah.
don't care what you got on your
I'd agree with
horn.
that. Yeah.
I don't care what you got on your horn. A hand is a hand is a hand.
Well, and
And
that's kind of the old school way of things because I can remember as a kid, like yeah, I got to hear all the stories of uncles and people that my uncle put me around and some close people that were close to my family that grew up when
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
ranching ranching was more big time than what it is now. But I never knew all this stuff. I mean, almost up until like 8 or 10 years ago, I never knew this stuff still existed. Like I didn't know that I could go to Nevada and just walk onto a ranch because I could sit a horse at all and go get a job and learn how to do this better.
yeah,
Like up until the social media era, and that's the I can remember growing up as a kid and like the flat hat style guys, like I just for whatever reason thought those were the guys that I needed to emulate. And that's
yeah,
who I looked up to. I thought they did it better. I thought they did it flashier. I thought that was cooler. However, it was, that was just who I looked up to when I was a kid. I didn't have Facebook to go on there and go, oh, that fucking TJ Briggs guy just threw a cool turnover shot in a ranch roping. I didn't have that.
yeah. No, it's crazy. Like it's pretty amazing. Like you'll see guys down in Texas throwing like big loop shots, and then you'll see guys up in your neck of the world tied on, and like but wearing Arizona bells and sure enough cowboy, and you're like just
Oh, yeah.
straight up punching, and like and not just looking the part, but actually punching cows. And but you'll see that up in Idaho, and the same time you'll see I don't know if you'll see a Rieta very commonly in the panhandle anymore, but you'll see guys dallying on a slick horn, and that's pretty fucking cool. I mean,
Oh, dude,
those are two
Yeah.
completely opposite worlds.
panhand
Eh,
panhandle riatas are like, I don't know what the fuck the Mexicans made them fuckers out of back in the day when they're like, oh, we're gonna put a knot on this thing and try and stop shit. Holy fuck. I traded for a 40-foot Rieta that in the picture it looked like a 5/16 like little cool little rope to go brand cows with. Fuck no, that fucking thing was like, I swear to God, a half-inch thick and it had a horn knot on the end of it. And it was 40
You
foot
know
long,
what?
and I was like, it felt good. Like it roped really good. But the guy that packed that thing had to have had a cock that was fucking 25 inches around to carry that thing in his fucking hand.
oh fuck!
I would like to pack a Rieta some. I just, man, no better roper than I am. I'm scared shitless to run that thing through the mud
You
and everything.
you and me both, buddy. I
Dude,
get it.
I fucking, that is, I rope with one at select brandings every year.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
can imagine.
so the one that I got that I rope with all the time is the Greg Snow. I can't remember where the fuck he was a cow boss of, but he hasn't branded very many of them. But it's that fucking thing's got eyes in it, man. Like you just throw it out there and it catches shit. It's not me, it's the rope.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, you know, there's something about those old traditions. Like they may seem outdated, uh, but there's something about them that you know. I mean, it's just like checking cows on horseback. That's outdated as fuck, but you know it works. So why change it? You know, like there's something there's always something to cowboying that. Well,
Well, and
everything
for
about
me, it's one of
cowboying
those
is
things.
outdated.
You know, if I can't do this job horseback, I'd as soon go to work at McDonald's. To be honest with you, and I've
Yeah,
told people that I love agriculture. That's fine, but if I can't be horseback, then I'll go do something that pays better.
yeah,
You know, still to this day, I think that way. And for a living, my main source of income is driving a truck. So I mean, fuck, I might not be able to speak on it, but there's just something a little bit different. Like we have big enough country up here in California, Oregon, Nevada. There's a lot of it that's not like four-wheeler and ATV accessible.
Yeah.
But just for the sake of being able to cover this amount of ground in a day, there's a lot of shit that you can get done riding a four-wheeler. And
Hey, far as putting salt out and shit, I'm all about riding a four wheeler. I don't feel any more cowboy packing salt and that kind of crap around.
well, but I mean, checking cows, and if a guy, I can't fucking do it, but I know guys that had like 120-mile circles a day that you kill 3 head of horses doing, that they did it on a four-wheeler and they doctored off of them. Like,
yeah,
like there's you still do it the same way, you just have a little bit different mount.
yeah.
It's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, and I move a lot of cows with the four-wheeler. Like I've got dogs, and I ride the four-wheeler the same way I would my horse. It's just, I mean, there's some days where it comes down to it, like, fuck, my four-wheeler always starts and wants to load in my horse trailer. Sometimes my horses motherfucking don't want to go. And I'm lazy, and that four-wheeler just, it runs out of fuel when it runs out of fuel. And that's my fault. My horses run out of fuel when they run out of fuel, and it might be both our fault, it might be theirs, whatever. But I mean, there's days where, you know, a four-wheeler is the best mount to have, and you know, there's a modern ranch deal that comes into it is picking the best tool for the job.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I won't disagree with you. You won't get many fans for that opinion by any means. But yeah, there's a
I'm
lot of
not
truth.
here. I'm not here or anywhere for fans. Like, fuck, I already have half the internet that hates me for eating horses. I can give a fuck
Love it.
that.
Fucking love it.
There you go. But no, like, but you know what I mean. Like, you're not gonna catch any fans for voicing that opinion. But there's also a lot of guys who are like, yeah, he's right, he's
Oh
right.
yeah, and
They
half
may not admit it in public, but yeah, they agree.
half of
I'm
them
with
cocksuckers that are like, oh, if I'm not doing it horseback, and I'm not trying to diss on you, Zach, but half of them fuckers that are like, if I can't do it horseback, I'll fucking never do it again. Probably jump on a four wheeler to do half of it.
Mhm.
no,
Oh
and that
yeah,
which my deal's a little more unique. My country is so, and I'm not trying to overhype it. My country over here is so damn rough. A four wheeler just won't work, and
Oh yeah,
our deal down here is a little different. I mean, our cattle aren't handled as much for the most part as a lot of those northern type cattle. Uh,
Right.
they we don't feed hay and that stuff, and so that they see humans for a lot of them, 2 times a year for the most part, spring and fall. You
yeah.
could probably get them gathered with a four wheeler as long as you had one to trash to get them trained first.
yeah,
What happened to
yeah.
And
your
like you said,
siren?
it's a little different deal, but I'm with you.
What
One
happened to your
thing I
sirens?
like,
I thought you guys just went out there and pushed a button on the pickup with a siren, and they all came running.
Shit, if I can, I will. Like I said, if I can, I will.
one
Don't
thing
put
I,
it
Jeff,
past
Jeff,
me.
what you got going on, buddy?
one thing I kind of like is when you can work out a system that works horses and vehicles into certain things. Like
Oh yeah.
this last winter, I was working down in Tuscarora for a family. They were right across from the Spanish ranch, but
Hot Creek.
no, it's Jarrett Creek.
Oh, okay.
But they were the Wright family is what their last name was. But when springtime came around, they were, and I'll admit these guys were probably some of the best cattlemen I've ever met. Like in the springtime, we'd go out there and tag and doctor during calving, and they know their cows good enough that they'd bring one of the boss's kids would be riding on a four wheeler. And if you went out and roped the calf and his mama was on the fight, they just drive that. You just had to wave your arm around or wait until they saw you, and they'd come over there and drag the calf into the four wheeler. But then the other 99 out of 10 cows, you could get right off and tag and doctor them by yourself.
Yeah. Now there's benefits to all of it. It's just how you look at it.
Sure.
Like
That's kind of
I
what we do too. Like we drag them over the top of a flatbed. So like my kids are old enough to where they do all the tagging, and my stepdad and I we rope most everything, and so like we'll hold everything up in a fence corner, or a lot of times here on where we cab at, we'll just do it kind of right in the middle of it, hold everything up, rope them, rope them right off the cow, drag them out of a roadier and over to a pickup. And if something's on the fight, we just ride around the pickup, flip a rope over the flatbed. The kids will drag them up onto the flatbed, tag them, and then hang them off the flatbed by a back leg and drop them back down to the cow. So yeah, I'm right with you on that deal. That's fucking awesome to have.
fuck yeah. No, it's
I
just
don't know. I can't talk much here. I've only worked for one place that tagged their calves at birth, so I can't. I don't know much about it. So
How do you guys go about it down there?
down here, like I said, it's a different climate and it's different country. Like most people down here have quit calving their heifers. we don't calve anything. I'll give you an example. Actually, I guess I didn't know that people calve their cows. I just assumed, like, where I grew up, hell, you just your cows are turned out, and then in spring you gather them, brand their calves. And most people have quit calving their heifers. And obviously there's some sacrifices there you got to make. You're gonna have some lower birth weight calves or some lower weaning weight calves. Typically, it leads to that, But it was more of a labor expense, So you don't really. There's no need to tag at birth here for the most part. Tag them at Brandon, and we don't pair match because you usually don't really need to pair out. Like, so we're all private ground, so you don't have a lot of need to pair out. You'll sort your drives a lot more often than you'll pair out. And if you do pair out, most of our cattle down here, for the most part, they do a damn good job of showing you who their calf is. Now, that's not universal. There's somebody right now in the panhandle going, he's fucking lying. And I'm sorry to that person. I'm not talking about your goddamn place. But like I said, that's not universal. That's just my experience. So
yeah. Well, no, I could see that with a lot of deep ground. Like, I run in common with my old man, and so when we go to brand calves, if they don't have a white ear tag, which is my ear tag, he runs blue and orange ear tags. If they don't have a white ear tag in their ear, they get his iron on them.
Gotcha.
So yeah, for me, he'd love it if we didn't tag anything. Me, I'm like, fuck, tag every one of them fuckers with the white ear tag.
Right, yeah.
I want to tag in every ear.
But so if we didn't tag calves right off the cow, and I mean, fuck, if a guy was really proactive about it, you could just drive out there as quick as they drop the calf, and most of our cows would let you just tag their calf, give them a shot of fucking god damn it, I can't even remember what we give everything right now. Multi-min and a bolus, and they'd hit the ground running.
Yeah.
But for us, we're both him and I have day jobs, and that's kind of how we supplement our cattle operation. Saturdays and Sundays, a lot of the times, are the only time that we have to do this. We enjoy doing it. We get to get horseback together, get to rope some stuff. My kids get involved, and it's really a better way to do it as a family. And so even if it was our full-time job, I don't know if we'd change a lot of the things that we do, but I mean, that's why we ear tag everything, and we have different earmarks. I've considered doing wattles just for easier sorting.
Well, I'll tell you from the feedlot perspective, those wattles look badass. I don't know how much difference they make, but they look awesome.
But they look cool.
Yeah.
They're fucking badass for sorting in the feedlot too.
Oh yeah. We about for sure once a year we get some cattle out of Jordan Valley, and some of them have wattles, and some of them have double wattles, and that's how you know you're real cool, is the double wattles.
Yeah, double wattles, sure.
Yeah, but you can tell those are desert cattle. Like you can look at them from a mile away. They got the ears marked up, and at least one chin wattle, and you're like, yeah, they came off the desert.
Yeah, that's we got a feedlot that's, I don't know, probably 10 miles away from me that I worked at. Shit, there's two right next to each other. I worked at both of them for right around a year. But the second one that I worked at, I was there in 2014 on to 2015, and we had this pen of cattle get mixed up, and they're basically fucking all black and red cows. And they're like, God damn it, sorting these fuckers is going to be a bitch. And I'm like, no. And I don't remember where the hell they came out of. I know they're out of Nevada, but I don't remember where they're at. They had a forehead wattle. God, those are the slickest sorting
No shit.
If this thing had this deal hanging off its head that kind of looked like a forelock looking deal, and it bobbed around, they were in. If they didn't have that,
That's
they were
awesome.
by. They sorted so fucking fast.
That's awesome. Yeah,
And
I,
then,
I bet.
yeah, and then them cows that had the waddles were about, they knew what a horse was, but they wanted to get away from it. So if you just minutely stepped in front of them, they went in the pen. Them other cows, they wanted to run by you, so they'd run by you. Like you
Yeah.
basically just stood on a corner post and they sorted themselves.
Yeah, I believe that. Um, you fellas stick around for a little bit, but I think we covered enough for tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and where can everybody find you? TJ, we'll start with you. Where can they find you if you want them to find you?
Uh, Facebook is probably the best one. I got a little fishing rod business too. It's Great Basin Custom Rods. I'd appreciate if people come and follow that or like the page or however they want to do it. It's not very cowboy. I'll admit that right now.
It don't matter. Don't make a shit. Just we're actually. I'll talk to you after the show, but we're gonna do a small business November and just to support small local businesses. So
Hell yeah.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
Facebook's probably the easiest way to get me. Just TJ Briggs on Facebook, and then my Instagram is, I think it's either TJ Briggs or Great Basin Custom Rods. I'm not very good with the internet, so
It's all right. Zach, how about you?
Find me on Facebook, Zach Sargent, Sargent. I've got a book out right now called Texas to Teton. It's a collection of cowboy poems that I've written.
Shut the fuck up. You got a book out and you didn't mention it?
Huh.
Nope. Now I am.
You
But,
motherfucker.
Yeah.
You motherfucker.
none of
All
us
right.
know how to read. God damn it, Matt!
Right. Yeah. No pictures for most of us, but
Tell me about this book right now.
Does it have pop-ups?
no pop-ups, unfortunately. But we'll work on it in the next one, I guess. But it's called Texas to Teton. I daylight as a cowboy poet. Got some poetry I've written. Like I said, you can find the link on my profile. If you can't find it, send me a message, and I'll do my best to get you a copy. Not for free, obviously. You will pay for it. But yeah, book out right now. Cowboy
Do you
poetry.
trade?
About all I got. What's that?
Do you do trades?
Yeah, I do trades. If you got something that's worth like $15 a trade, I trade. Yeah,
We can figure it out.
that tickles me to death.
Awesome. Well, hey, go buy this guy's book. Come on.
Help
Yeah,
me out.
shit, I'm gonna buy 2 of them now.
Yeah. All right. Jeff, how about you?
I got Facebook and Instagram. You can pretty much look me up right by my name if you spell it right. It's Jeffery, then LAW.
Lawdog.
Lawdog. Law don't go around here, though, Lawdog.
Yeah, I'm usually either called Lawdog or I'm called Hefe. A lot of
Oh,
people
shit.
like to call me Hefe.
I bet they do.
I can't imagine anybody call you boss.
You're also a TikToker. You got a pretty good following on TikTok. So don't.
Yeah, I get on there now and then.
Where they find you out there?
Oh, what is it? It's homeless_buckaroo.
Perfect. Well, yeah, you guys go follow these guys here, and yeah, and go find Zach's book. Go buy that. That's awesome. I had no idea when I had you on the show that you had a book, but that's awesome.
Well, what was the name of that again, Zach?
Texas to Teton.
Texas to Teton. I gotta write that down or I'll fucking forget it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Texas to Teton.
A collection of cowboy poems. It's found on like I said, just go to my Facebook profile and I'll have the link up so everybody can see it.
Hey.
Texas to Teton. I will find the links and I'll make sure that's on the
Before we
text
get
thread.
off the podcast, Zach, have you considered to go into poetry gathering in Elko? It'll be in
Yeah,
like
you know, I've actually wanted to make the Elko one, but it's just been one of those deals. It's tough to convince the people I work for oftentimes that I need that time off, if that makes sense.
oh yeah,
Well,
no, I can believe you.
Yeah.
So, and Matt, you can cuss me for mentioning this or whatever. So the outside circle show goes on at the same time as poetry gathering. It is an awesome deal.
no, it really is. That's a great show.
Yep.
It's an awesome show, and also, um, just to add on to that, we're gonna do our own Burning Daylight deal. So Zach, you're invited to recite a poem at this deal. We're gonna do a live podcast, and we'll have a couple musical guests as well
Yeah.
during that same week. So yeah, if you're if you're not going to Elko, you should probably go. Uh, as far as the cowboy,
Absolutely.
as far as the cowboy poetry deal is concerned, they're not gonna have one really this year. Like they're gonna record some stuff, but like it's not
We're
gonna be the
having an
same.
outside circle show.
Yeah, the outside
Absolutely.
circle is gonna do a show, and then Burning
Fuck
Daylight's
yeah.
gonna do a show as well. Yeah, like Elko's still gonna have some shit. So
Yeah.
uh, get to Elko.
Yeah. No. So the outside circle shows kind of the working guys gig.
Yep.
So absolutely working cowboys, that is your place.
Yes, sir. All right. Anything else? Anything else you guys got coming on?
Well, I'm not writing a book anytime soon, so
All right. Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in and move your ass. We're burning daylight.